Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the place where we take on these just, massive, overwhelming topics, the stuff that looks like a wall of facts you can't climb, and we map out the shortest route to the top.
Right. We want to deliver the pure gold of knowledge, the key insights, so you don't have to spend weeks wading through all the noise.
And today, we are tackling what is, genuinely an immense body of source material. We've been navigating the exhaustive biographical history of LeBron James, often called, of course, King James.
And this source is so comprehensive, it might be the longest Wikipedia entry ever written on a professional athlete.
Hey,
seriously.
We actually did the word count check on this comprehensive file. We clocked it in at just over 16,000 words. 16,000.
Wow.
All dedicated to one man's professional life. That right there is a testament to his sheer longevity and, the unprecedented scope of his influence. We're talking 23 seasons, 4 championships, activism, a global business empire. It's all in there.
So our mission today, for you, the person looking to be well-informed, is we're going to deliver the necessary shortcut. We're giving you the essential chapters, from the high school phenomena to the oldest active player in the league.
And we're going to focus on those strategic moves, the records, and of course the controversies that really define his impact on basketball and really beyond. We're synthesizing a history that is, believe it or not, still being written, with our sources updated to late 2025.
Okay, so let's get into it. To really understand the King James phenomenon, you absolutely have to appreciate the instability of his starting point. The story starts in Akron, Ohio, but the source material makes it so clear that stability was, well, it was luxury he just didn't have.
Not at all.
LeBron Raymond James was born on December 30th, 1984. And his mother, Gloria Marie James, was incredibly young, just 16 years old.
And his father wasn't in the picture.
Not at all. His biological father, Anthony McClelland, was entirely absent and had a pretty significant criminal record. So because Gloria was often struggling to find steady work, their early life was just defined by this constant churn, moving between apartments in the most run-down neighborhoods of Akron. It was chaotic.
A rootless existence. You can see how that desire for stability, that need for control over his environment probably becomes a major theme later in his career. It informs his business choices, his career decisions.
Absolutely.
So where did that foundation finally come from?
It came when Gloria recognized her son needed something more consistent. Around age 9, she made what had to be a really difficult decision to let him move in with the family of Frank Walker.
And he was a youth football coach.
Exactly. A local youth football coach, and it was through Walker that James was first introduced to organized basketball. That move provided the structure he so desperately lacked, and it put him on his path.
And once he found that structure, the talent just erupted. He started organized ball in 5th grade, then played AAU for the Northeast Ohio Shooting Stars with his lifelong friends, the famous Fab Four.
Right, and the unity of that group is so key. They all chose to attend St. Vincent St. Mary High School together, which was a private Catholic school.
And that choice actually stirred up some local controversy.
It did, because the school was predominantly white, and it led some community members to question if it was the right fit. But, the basketball dominance immediately overshadowed any of that.
And dominance is, that's an understatement. As a freshman, he's 6'2", and already leading the varsity team to an undefeated 27-0 record and state title.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where the story really shifts from just a local star to a full-blown national phenomenon.
Oh, by his sophomore year, the demand had just grown exponentially. He was up to 6'5", averaging 25.7 rebounds, 5 assists. His home games, they had to be relocated.
Located where?
To the 5,492-seat University of Akron Rhodes Arena, just to handle the flood of scouts, media, and fans. This 15-year-old was selling out college venues.
That's insane.
It is. He became the first sophomore ever to be named Ohio Mr. Basketball and was selected to the prestigious USA Today All-USA First Team. That level of attention on a high schooler was, it was simply unheard of.
And it just ramped up so intensely from there. He appears on the cover of Sports Illustrated before his junior year, now grown to 6'7".
Right.
And that made him the first high school basketball underclassman to be featured on that cover. That's the moment the nickname King James really cements itself on a national stage.
And all of this intense pressure, it led to some pretty intense public scrutiny over his actions and, frankly, the system that was surrounding him. After his junior year, he actually tried to petition the NBA to enter the 2002 draft early.
Which was denied?
It was denied.
Yeah.
And he later admitted that during this period, he used marijuana to cope with the immense stress and anxiety, that constant media spotlight.
Yeah. And the controversies in his senior year really show just how fragile the definition of amateurism was when it was applied to someone with his kind of earning potential.
Two specific incidents illustrate this perfectly. First, for his 18th birthday, his mother gifted him a Hummer H2.
The famous Hummer.
The famous Hummer. The Ohio High School Athletic Association, the OHSAA, they investigated, and they ultimately cleared him because Gloria had secured a loan for the vehicle by leveraging LeBron's future earning power. And critically, it came from a family member.
Okay, so that was cleared. But the second incident, which was much smaller, involved some clothing. That's what actually got him suspended.
Right. It's ironic. He accepted $845 worth of throwback jerseys from a clothing store in exchange for posing for some photos.
And that was a violation.
That was deemed a violation of amateur rules because it was commercial exchange for merchandise. It resulted in him being stripped of his amateur eligibility, though that was later reduced to a 2-game suspension. It just shows that for James, even accepting a T-shirt could trigger a national legal and ethical debate.
Before he fully dedicates to basketball, we have to pause on what the source material calls the football hypothetical. Because it confirms he wasn't just, casually playing football. He was elite.
He was a true all-around athlete. As an underclassman, he played wide receiver for St. Vincent St. Mary, and he earned first-team All-State honors. He was being heavily recruited by Division I programs, most notably Notre Dame.
And analysts have looked back at his build, 6'9", 250 pounds, fast, agile, and they think he could have actually played in the NFL.
They do. Analysts like Bill Barnwell and John Breach have concluded he had the tools to genuinely play professional football. That potential just underscores his physical uniqueness.
A potential Hall of Fame wide receiver who chose basketball. But basketball won out, and in 2003, he fulfilled the destiny that had basically been set for him since he was 16.
He was selected first overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers, the clear culmination of the prep-to-pro era. He was the most anticipated prospect since Michael Jordan, and he immediately chose that famous number 23.
And he didn't just meet the hype. In his very first game, he set a precedent, scoring 25 points, which was the most ever by a prep-to-pro player in their NBA debut.
His rookie season was historic. He won Rookie of the Year, of course, led the Cavaliers to an 18-game improvement, though they did miss the playoffs. But the true measure of his immediate greatness
Is that stat line.
Exactly. He joined Oscar Robertson and Michael Jordan as only the third player ever to average at least 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game as a rookie. That stat line is the definition of an immediate, multifaceted star.
And the rise to superstardom just accelerated from there. By 2005, he's an all-star. But in 2006, he makes a move that was less about on-court production and more about unprecedented strategic control.
This is such a crucial moment, and it links right back to that early need for stability and control. He signed a 3-year contract extension with a 4th-year player option.
Which was unusual at the time.
Very. And it was explicitly a strategic financial and career decision. It was designed to align his 2010 free agency with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh, who were fellow members of his draft class. They had reportedly talked about playing together as far back as 2006. This was player empowerment operating on, like, a multi-year chessboard.
So while he's plotting the future, he is absolutely dominating the present. He wins his first All-Star Game MVP in 2006, and in 2007, he leads the Cavaliers pretty much by himself to their first ever NBA Finals appearance.
That 2007 playoff run is where the legend of LeBron carrying the team really takes root, specifically Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the heavily favored Detroit Pistons.
An iconic game.
It is. He logged 48 points, scoring the Cavaliers' last 25 points in a row, and it all culminated in the game-winning layup with 2.2 seconds left in double overtime. It's held up as one of the most dominant, high-leverage solo performances in league history.
But reaching the finals only served to expose his game's major flaw when he ran into the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, the Spurs provided a tactical masterclass.
Right.
Their defensive scheme was specifically designed to funnel him away from the basket.
Yeah.
They forced him into jump shots. They challenged him with heavy zone defense, which was less common in the NBA back then.
And his jump shot just wasn't there yet.
It was, as the source materials emphasize, genuinely underdeveloped.
Yeah.
He shot only 35.6% for the series, and the Cavs were swept. It was a humbling lesson that showed him the limits of pure athleticism against tactical brilliance.
And he responded to that failure almost immediately by focusing on his individual game. He wins his first scoring title in 2008 with 30 points per game, and he becomes the Cavaliers' all-time leading scorer.
And he sustained that level, winning back-to-back MVP awards in 2009 and 2010. And crucially, his defense evolved dramatically during this time. He earned his first all-defensive team selection in 2009 and even finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting, showing a true two-way commitment.
So he was delivering on the individual historical level. I think analysts called his 2009 season arguably the greatest individual season in history. But the team success still eluded him in the playoffs.
Right. The 2009 loss to Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals was deeply frustrating for him. And that frustration boiled over into an act that drew significant public criticism.
The handshake incident.
He left the floor immediately after the loss without shaking hands with Magic players. It was viewed across the league and the media as an unsportsmanlike snub, and it really highlighted a lack of maturity under pressure.
And the final exit in 2010 against Boston was even more sour, leading to him being booed by his own home crowd in Game 5. That chaotic backdrop is what set the stage for the decision.
That's right. When July 2010 arrived, James became an unrestricted free agent, and the highly orchestrated announcement of his destination fundamentally changed the relationship between athletes, teams, and fans forever.
Okay, let's slow down and really break down the decision. We know the goal was already set. He wanted to play with Wade and Bosh, but the execution was just a firestorm. Why was a nationally televised ESPN special, even one that raised $2.5 million for charity, such a massive PR failure?
I think it was the perceived hubris and the spectacle of it all. The show didn't just announce his move to the Miami Heat, it elevated the athlete above the organization in a way the viewers just found antagonistic. The teams courting him weren't informed until minutes before the broadcast.
It felt like a performance.
It felt like a calculated performance of power rather than a respectful career transition.
And the backlash was immediate and, vitriolic.
It was unprecedented in modern sports. The Cavaliers owner, Dan Gilbert, famously published this aggressive open letter, calling the move a cowardly betrayal. Fans were publicly burning his jersey. Even legends like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson weighed in, criticizing him for forming a super team instead of embracing the challenge of winning alone.
He went from a beloved hometown hero to instantly one of America's most disliked athletes.
Overnight?
And that phrase, taking my talents to South Beach, became the rallying cry for all his critics. It truly cemented his image as the league's primary villain.
It did, and James later admitted he regretted how the event was handled. But the intent was clear. That 2011 finals loss proved that his offensive burden in Cleveland was just unsustainable if he wanted to win a title. He chose to ease that burden by joining Bosh and Wade. He even thought the improved roster might let him average a triple-double, which shows you his evolving perspective on team success versus individual stats.
So in Miami, he changes his number to 6 out of respect for Michael Jordan, and the Big Three era begins. But that first season was not smooth sailing.
Not at all. They started the season 9-8. And James later reflected that the constant media and fan negativity caused him to play with, in his words, an angrier demeanor. He was clearly internalizing that villain role. When he returned to Cleveland that December, the booing was just relentless, even in a decisive Heat victory.
And the true low point, the ultimate failure of that early Miami experiment, was the 2011 finals loss to the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, that loss was humiliating, and the criticism was so targeted. He was heavily, specifically criticized for his performance in the fourth quarter, where he averaged only 3 points per game in that series.
Wow, just 3 points.
His scoring average dropped 8.9 points from the regular season to the finals. That's the largest drop-off in league history. It raised serious questions about his mentality and his ability to perform in the highest pressure moments.
But that psychological blow became the catalyst for his professional evolution. It marked the start of his, historically great efficiency.
Precisely. Humbled by the loss, James used the 2011 lockout period to completely rework his offensive foundation. He specifically worked with the legendary big man Hakeem Olajuwon to improve his post-up game and his footwork.
So he could create more efficient shots.
Exactly. It allowed him to create closer, more efficient shots rather than relying solely on slashing or driving. He internalized the tactical lessons from the Spurs sweep and the Mavs loss, and he consciously moved away from the villain role and tried to find joy in the game again.
And the results were immediate. Back-to-back titles followed. In 2012, he wins his 3rd MVP.
The 2012 Eastern Conference Finals against Boston Game 6, facing elimination, is still cited as a masterwork of mental fortitude. The New York Times called his 45-point, 15-rebound effort a career-defining performance. He then won his first title against Oklahoma City, securing his first Finals MVP.
And the 2013 season was nearly statistically flawless, leading to the second title.
Right. He led the Heat to a 27-game winning streak, which is the third longest in NBA history. And he fell just one vote shy of being the first unanimous MVP winner. And the 2013 Finals rematch against the Spurs really showcased his growth. After being criticized early in the series for being too passive, he delivered in Game 7, scoring 37 points and securing his second straight Finals MVP.
That achievement, matching Jordan as the only player to win NBA MVP, a championship, Finals MVP, and an Olympic gold in the same year, is just an incredible capstone to that era.
It really is. It proves that the technical shift paid off. By adding a reliable post-up game and a mid-range jumper, he transcended being just an elite athlete and became a fundamentally efficient offensive engine, capable of carrying the burden of those massive expectations.
The final season in Miami, 2013-2014, still had individual fireworks, including a massive scoring outburst.
Oh yeah. In March 2014, he scored a career high and a franchise record 61 points. That included a staggering 9 three-pointers, a record for any player scoring 60 in a game. But the Finals loss to the Spurs was definitive. It ended the quest for a three-peat.
And ironically, he missed most of Game 1 of that series due to severe leg cramps, which was a reminder that even the king was physically vulnerable. Which brings us to 2014, the biggest narrative pivot of his career. The promise fulfilled and the return home to Cleveland.
This move was handled with just remarkable sophistication and sensitivity, and it provides the perfect narrative contrast to the decision. He opted out of his contract and announced his return in a first-person essay published in Sports Illustrated.
And it was, in his words, well-received.
It was universally well-received. He framed it as a choice to return to the community that raised him.
And we have to remember the context of the Cavaliers franchise at that time. They were not good.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Since he left, Cleveland had been in total disarray, tallying a dismal 97 wins against 215 losses. His return instantly transformed the organization, and the contract he signed was a short 2-year deal, explicitly designed to maintain flexibility and financial control, another key example of him using his power to manage his career destiny.
He quickly assembles a new big three with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, leading to the 2015 Finals, his 5th consecutive appearance.
And the 2015 Finals really proved the value of his supporting cast. With injuries sidelining both Irving and Love, James advanced but lost to the Golden State Warriors. However, his individual performance was just heroic.
Right. He averaged, almost 36 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists.
Exactly. And he shockingly received serious Finals MVP consideration despite losing the series. That just speaks volumes about the perceived gulf in talent between the two teams.
But all of that just sets the stage for what many consider the definitive chapter of his career. The historic 2016 championship.
This is the peak of the narrative arc. They're facing the 73-win Golden State Warriors, the greatest regular season team ever, and they fall behind 3-1. The odds were, they were insurmountable. No team in NBA history had ever come back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals.
And yet he engineered one of the greatest comebacks in sports history.
It was unparalleled. James delivered back-to-back 41-point performances in Games 5 and 6, and the comeback culminated in Game 7, a nail-biter, where the defining moment of his career occurred.
A block.
The chase-down block in Andre Iguodala in the final minutes.
That moment just encapsulates everything about his physical profile, his athleticism, his will.
With a perfect timing, massive effort, and just an impossible display of speed and length in transition, he secured a triple-double in Game 7, and his overall statistical performance in that series was truly historic. He became the first player in league history to lead both teams in all 5 major statistical categories: points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks.
Which led to a unanimous Finals MVP selection and, most importantly, ended Cleveland's 52-year professional sports title drought.
That one championship provided the emotional and narrative closure that the decision had threatened to extinguish forever. It was the ultimate fulfillment of the promise to Akron.
And yet, even in victory, his strategic approach continued. He started negotiating these short-term, one-and-one contracts year after year.
Right.
That's a financial move that requires a bit of context. Why the short contracts?
It was highly strategic, and it was tied to the massive influx of TV money that caused the NBA salary cap to spike dramatically starting around 2016. By signing these short deals, James could opt out annually and re-sign for a higher percentage of the newly increased maximum salary. It allowed him to maximize his earnings against the rising cap, another display of meticulous financial control.
He continued his streak of reaching the finals, extending it to 8 consecutive years, losing back-to-back to the Warriors. But this era was also marked by some significant internal drama, particularly with Kyrie Irving.
It was a very complex dynamic. Irving, who was younger and seeking to lead his own team, requested a trade, largely because he no longer wanted to play alongside James. And it really highlights the inherent difficulty of managing the massive gravity and intensity that surrounds a superstar player.
But despite that turmoil, James still surpassed Michael Jordan as the league's all-time postseason scoring leader in 2017.
And his durability was setting records too. His consistency is just staggering. In March 2018, he set an NBA record that speaks purely to his focus: 867 straight games scoring in double digits. And that streak extended far beyond that initial mark, emphasizing a level of performance that just never dipped below the elite threshold for years.
The second Cleveland stint ended in the 2018 finals, a sweep by the Warriors, which was really overshadowed by his physical reaction to that Game 1 loss.
He scored a playoff career-high 51 points in Game 1, a legendary performance that was wasted due to a teammate's error in the final seconds. Following that loss, the series is really defined by the revelation that he injured his hand by punching a locker room wall in frustration, which hindered his effectiveness for the rest of the series. The emotional toll of trying to carry that team was just palpable.
So he leaves Cleveland a second time, this time heading to Los Angeles in 2018. And this move felt less about basketball redemption and more about lifestyle and business.
That's absolutely true. His agent, Rich Paul, was quoted saying the 2018 decision was simply just about doing what he wants to do. Los Angeles offered the perfect synergy for his burgeoning media and business interests, positioning him perfectly for post-career success.
His first LA season, though, showed that even King James isn't impervious to time and injury.
Yeah, he suffered a significant groin strain on Christmas Day 2018, forcing him to miss a career-high 17 games. The Lakers just plummeted without him, and they missed the playoffs for the first time since 2005. It also resulted in him being named to the All-NBA third team, which was the first time in 12 years he hadn't made the All-NBA first team. It was a clear, temporary dip.
But the 2019-2020 season brought the fourth championship and a really remarkable positional pivot.
He fundamentally changed his role. He shifted to full-time point guard alongside the new acquisition, Anthony Davis. This shows his adaptive genius. He led the entire league in assists for the first time in his career, averaging 10.2 per game. It demonstrated that his primary skill was now playmaking.
And that season was, of course, tragically impacted by the passing of Kobe Bryant.
Just one day after James passed Bryant for third place on the NBA's all-time scoring list, Kobe died. The emotional timing was just wrenching. James delivered an improvised and incredibly powerful eulogy, connecting their shared history as Laker greats and carrying that emotional weight through the rest of the season.
And the season finished in that strange, isolated environment of the 2020 bubble during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Winning the 2020 finals secured his fourth championship and his fourth finals MVP. And critically, this made him the only player in NBA history to win the finals MVP award with 3 different franchises, a record that really speaks to his unique ability to integrate into and elevate entirely disparate organizations and cultures.
So now we enter the era of age defiance and the relentless statistical onslaught from 2021 through late 2025. This period is less about championships and more about accumulating records that they feel impossible.
It really is the statistical legacy era. He became the first player in NBA history to score 10 or more points in 1,000 consecutive games. He was the youngest player ever to reach 35,000 points. The record just kept stacking up.
Let's discuss the 30K, 10K, 10K club, which he entered in 2022. That's more than just 3 big numbers. That combination tells us something really profound about his place in history.
It truly is the ultimate summation of his career profile. The 30,000 points tell you he's an elite, efficient scorer. The 10,000 rebounds tell you he has the physicality and longevity of an elite post player or power forward. And the 10,000 assists tell you he has a court vision and playmaking ability of an elite point guard.
No one else in history has done that.
No one. No one else has combined those 3 distinct positional roles at an elite level. It's an encapsulation of generational versatility.
And then, of course, the big one fell in 2023.
Yes. On February 7th, 2023, James surpassed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. The league wisely stopped the game for an on-court ceremony, a rare and deserved moment of historical recognition, with Abdul-Jabbar himself passing James the ceremonial game ball. It was a true passing of the torch.
What's shocking is that despite being the oldest active player in the league, his production seems to be improving in certain key areas, especially efficiency.
The 2023-24 season was just an age-defying spectacle. He was the oldest player in the league. Yet he led the Lakers to the inaugural NBA in-season tournament, winning the NBA Cup MVP. He then became the first player in NBA history to reach 40,000 career points. That is just staggering longevity.
And his shooting that season was arguably the most impressive technical feat of his entire career.
He posted a career-high 41.0% shooting percentage from three-point range. To put that in context, he became the first player ever to average over 25 points and 8 assists while shooting at least 50% overall and 40% from three. At age 39, he was more efficient from deep than he was in his prime.
And he didn't stop at the NBA record books. He broke the global scoring record, too.
Right. In April 2024, James surpassed the legendary Brazilian player Oscar Schmidt to become the world's all-time scoring leader in basketball history, combining his NBA and Olympic stats. This cemented him not just as an NBA legend, but as a truly global basketball phenomenon.
And his career duration is setting records that really speak to his durability.
He holds the record for most NBA seasons played, 23, tied with Vince Carter, and crucially holds the record for most minutes played in league history, regular season, and playoffs combined, surpassing Abdul-Jabbar in 2024. He has simply played and performed longer than anyone else at an elite level.
And the latest, most emotional milestone involved his family fulfilling a goal he had long stated.
Bronny James was selected by the Lakers 55th overall in the 2024 draft, which immediately set up the possibility. And on October 22, 2024, they appeared in an NBA game together, making them the first father-son teammates in NBA history.
And that achievement has so much narrative weight, especially considering James's own unstable, fatherless childhood. He delivered the stability and the generational connection that he himself lacked.
It connects beautifully back to the earliest chapters of our source material.
Exactly. Moving on to his player profile. We've discussed his versatility, but let's delve into the specifics of his evolution as a physical force.
He's listed at 6'9", 250 pounds, capable of playing all 5 positions. Early in Cleveland, his offense was purely defined by his speed, quickness, and size, making him an elite slasher and finisher, particularly devastating in transition. He just used pure force to overcome defenders.
But the weakness, that underdeveloped jump shot, which the Spurs exploited, forced a dramatic technical shift.
It did. The work with Hakeem Olajuwon was key. It allowed him to develop specific footwork for the low and high post, adding a reliable fadeaway and a more consistent mid-range jumper. This ability to score efficiently from the post made him almost unstoppable, because defenses could no longer just push him outside the paint.
And his playmaking, which led to that assist title, is often considered the most underrated aspect of his skill set.
It is arguably one of the defining features of his career.
Right.
Because of his size and the attention he draws from defenders, he possesses the court vision of a true point guard, consistently finding open teammates. His ability to pass over defenses is so singular that his presence alone has been cited as a reason NBA teams have had to incorporate elements of zone defense just to cover the weak side, which used to be rare.
Okay, what about his defense? How did he transform from a poor defender to an elite 5-time all-defensive first-team selection? And how did he develop that signature chase-down block?
Early in his career, his defense was inconsistent, often just relying on his athleticism. But in Miami, he focused intently, often guarding all 5 positions during key stretches. And the chase-down block became his specialty. It's a perfect blend of his transition speed and length, allowing him to erase fast break opportunities from behind.
But the source material also notes a defensive regression during his second Cleveland stint.
That's where the phrase chill mode comes from. James himself acknowledged that he would take plays off during the regular season, often walking back on defense after a missed offensive possession.
But the expectation was always that he would raise his level in the playoffs.
Right. That's the phenomenon often referred to by analysts as playoff LeBron, where his focus and intensity would return to those elite levels.
Shifting to his national team career, it started with a real lowlight, signaling a lack of commitment from a young player.
Yeah, the 2004 Athens Olympics were a disappointment. As a 19-year-old rookie, he saw limited playing time, and Team USA only managed a bronze medal. James later expressed that he felt limited and that his attitude perhaps was not fully committed to the structure of the national team.
And that led to team management stepping in before the 2008 Olympics.
Team USA management, specifically Jerry Colangelo and Coach K, gave him a clear ultimatum: adapt your attitude and embrace the team concept. And he heeded that warning completely. He won gold in 2008 and became the undisputed leader of the team by the 2012 Olympics in London.
And that 2012 accomplishment is truly rare in basketball history.
By winning the NBA MVP, the NBA championship, the Finals MVP, and the Olympic gold medal all in the same year, he joined Michael Jordan as the only player to achieve that feat. In London, he also recorded the first triple-double in U.S. Olympic basketball history, showcasing his supreme passing on the international stage.
And the journey continued, incredibly, all the way to the 2024 Paris Olympics.
At 39, he rejoined Team USA, serving as team captain and, critically, was named one of the two flag bearers for the opening ceremony, the first male basketball player to be so honored. It reflects his status as a global icon. He secured his second Olympic triple-double in the semifinal win and ultimately won his third gold medal, earning the FIBA Men's Olympics MVP award.
So we arrive at the GOAT debate. He came out of high school as the most hyped prospect ever, and the source material concludes he has delivered on every last drop.
The resume is just astonishing. He is the NBA all-time scoring leader, a record 21-time All-Star, and holds the record for most All-NBA selections, including 13 first-team selections. His 4 MVPs tie him for 4th all-time, and his 4 Finals MVPs are the second most ever.
But the comparison to Jordan is the perpetual hurdle, and the source material notes that polling results often correlate directly with age.
Yes, older voters, who witnessed Jordan peak, often favor his perceived perfection and his unblemished finals record of 6-0. They point to James's 4-6 finals record as a critical flaw.
And supporters of James.
They point to his unparalleled longevity, his statistical dominance across all categories, and the sheer volume of his accomplishments across 23 seasons in 2 different eras of the league.
So the debate seems to shift the definition of greatest. Is it the highest peak or the longest duration of elite performance?
Exactly. And James's influence extends beyond mere stats and touches the fundamental structure of the league itself, player empowerment.
The fact that he was willing to change teams in free agency, not once, but twice, fundamentally shifted the power balance in the NBA.
Ben Golliver argued that James's move to Miami in 2010 not only defined a decade of player movement, but fundamentally flipped the power balance between stars and their organizations. His decisions catalyzed the league-wide trend where star players dictate their destination and roster composition, leading directly to the 21st century's concept of the super team. He taught players how to manage their own career destiny.
Now let's pivot to the off-court empire, the side of the ledger that truly justifies the 16,000 words in our source material. This isn't just a basketball player, this is a conglomerate.
He became the first active NBA player to accumulate $1 billion in earnings. His financial success is split, a massive portion from salary, but an equally huge portion from equity and endorsements. He signed that groundbreaking $90 million Nike deal coming out of high school, followed by long-term deals with giants like Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, State Farm, and Crypto.com.
But the key distinction is his shift from pure endorsement to ownership and equity.
That's the ultimate expression of player empowerment. Since 2011, he has been a part owner of the English Premier League club Liverpool FC. He later expanded this with investments in the Boston Red Sox, the NHL's Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Italian football club AC Milan, all under the umbrella of Fenway Sports Group.
And he co-founded Blaze Pizza.
Right. He famously co-founded the fast casual chain Blaze Pizza, turning an initial investment into $25 million by 2017. And he's also expressed serious interest in owning a future Las Vegas NBA expansion team.
His media footprint through Spring Hill Entertainment and Uninterrupted is equally vast, making him a major content creator.
Co-owned with Maverick Carter, Spring Hill Entertainment has produced films like Space Jam, A New Legacy, and documentaries like More Than a Game. Uninterrupted, a digital video company, gives athletes direct control over their own narrative. And more recently, James launched the Mind the Game podcast in 2024, initially with J.J. Redick, later replaced by Steve Nash, providing detailed basketball analysis directly to the fans.
I recall the documentary series Shut Up and Dribble had a very specific, politically charged origin story.
It was a direct response to criticism from Fox News host Laura Ingraham, who told James to shut up and dribble after he made comments criticizing President Trump. James used that criticism to launch the documentary, which explored the changing role of athletes in the political and social climate, framing the right to speak out as part of his identity.
Speaking of public image, his recovery post the decision was almost as legendary as his comeback from 3-1.
He recovered remarkably well. After being ranked among America's most disliked athletes, the Harris poll reported him as the most popular male athlete in America by 2014. However, his image hasn't been without its controversies or missteps.
Like the famous 2008 Vogue cover?
He was the first black man to appear on the cover, posing with Gisele Bündchen. However, the styling a roaring primal James carrying the fair-skinned Bunchen drew heavy criticism, particularly from commentators like Jamili Hill, who argue the imagery referenced offensive King Kong tropes. A dark savage capturing a fair-skinned love interest. It was a failure of optics and a high-profile moment.
On a personal note, the source material confirms his devotion to health is astronomical, and he's married to his high school sweetheart.
He married Savannah Brinson in 2013, and they have 3 children, including Bronny and Bryce, who are following in his footsteps. Regarding his health, it is widely reported he invests heavily. The rumor is $1.5 million annually on trainers, chefs, and various physical therapies to maintain his physique and longevity. While he's denied that exact figure, his training regimen is consistently described as being on another level.
But he does have some relatable habits.
He does. He reportedly drinks wine nightly and eats dessert with every meal.
The philanthropic work of the LeBron James Family Foundation is often cited as the most important part of his legacy.
It is centered in Akron and focused on education and community uplift. He has called the I Promise School, which opened in 2018, his most important professional accomplishment. The foundation also operates the I Promise Village, a housing complex, and the I Promise Health Quarters, a medical center, and provides scholarships for up to 2,300 children. It is a profound, lasting investment in the community that raised him.
Finally, his political and social activism, which has been a defining feature of his generation of athletes.
He has been fearlessly outspoken on major social issues, starting with the Trayvon Martin case, condemning Donald Sterling's racist comments, and initiating the 2020 NBA playoff boycott following the shooting of Jacob Blake. He has also been overtly political, endorsing Barack Obama and publicly campaigning for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in multiple elections.
And he also publicly criticized President Trump.
In 2017, he called President Trump a bum, accusing him of attempting to use sports to divide the country. His willingness to use his platform, despite the criticism, marks him as a leader in athlete activism.
However, that global influence inevitably creates international tightropes, as we saw during the Hong Kong protests.
Right. His reach means he has to comment on or react to global political events. In 2019, he drew criticism after suggesting that Daryl Morey, the NBA executive who tweeted support for Hong Kong protesters, was misinformed. This was widely interpreted as prioritizing business relationships, specifically with China, over human rights.
And more recently, the complexities of the Middle East crisis followed his statements.
In October 23, he voiced support for Israel following the October 7th attacks. That statement drew criticism from some who felt he omitted mention of affected Palestinians, which just highlights the impossible position of being a global, influential figure where any statement on a polarizing geopolitical conflict is immediately scrutinized for perceived bias or incompleteness.
So what does this all mean? We started with over 16,000 words defining a career. We've navigated the instability of his childhood, the shock of the decision, the fulfillment of the 3-1 comeback, and the relentless accumulation of records across 23 seasons, all while building a business empire that spans ownership in multiple global sports leagues.
It means James is a figure defined by strategic self-management and continual evolution. He transformed his game from a raw slasher to one of the most efficient players and greatest passers in history. He transformed his brand from a perceived villain into a globally respected leader who fundamentally changed the power dynamic between players and franchises. His entire career can be viewed as an extended attempt to gain and maintain total control over his narrative and his destiny, stemming directly from that chaotic start in Akron.
That's the essence of this comprehensive file boiled down. But here is the final provocative thought for you, the well-informed learner. Something to consider as James continues this unprecedented run.
James spent years stating his motivation was to play long enough to share the court with his son, Bronny. Now that he has achieved that unique generational goal and surpassed all the statistical benchmarks, what is the driving motivation for playing into his 40s? Is it simply the mechanical accumulation of untouchable records, the chase for 50,000 career points, extending the minutes record further into the stratosphere?
War, given his extensive ownership stakes across Fenway Sports Group, Liverpool FC, the Red Sox, the Penguins, AC Milan, will the King James legacy ultimately be defined less by the records he broke on the court and more by the unprecedented power and influence he has translated into off-court wealth and multi-sport ownership, cementing himself as the ultimate strategic businessman rather than just a basketball player? How does his role as a sports owner reflect the final, ultimate expression of player empowerment? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.